As usual, we've got Monty, but we have a new guest, Sar. Sar, do you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll go back to Monty? Because Monty, I know that you've got something you want to share for this stream.
Oh,
Okay,
Yeah.
Sar, let's hear from you.
Okay. My name is Zar Agus. I am one of the head judges for Legend of the Five Rings, the LCG, the card game, for Fantasy Flight. And I have been playing Legend of the Five Rings. I'm going to date myself here. Since 1997, between middle school and high school. Yeah, that long ago.
You look young though. It's
And
the Asian genes. It's the Asian genes.
it is. It really is. It's like I try to age myself by going to the beach or getting as much as UV rays as possible, but no. Uh, but yeah, I've played it with the AEG iteration. I'm playing it with the FFG iteration, and I love the FFG version because it's just so. Um, AEG was problematic. FFG is not as much.
AEG was definitely that's a vibe.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, you messaged. You were actually in our chat for the very first one, and then you messaged Steve and I, and we're like, "Hey, would you have me on?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's." I think one of the things we need to do more with the L5R stream is actually bring in members of the L5R community to read this with us. Not only because you have expertise, but also you're a fan, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this. So, like, what do L5R fans think of the clans? What do they love? What do they hate? Right, and I think
Oh
that's
yeah,
and I, and
we
I
have.
think that's something interesting.
It's our fan base is very interesting that we actually have people that will go out and research costumes for all the different clans that they love, and they will actually painstakingly make costumes for them, and they're just amazing. And the inter-clan rivalry bleeds out to the real world.
ooh, ooh.
Crane Clan.
Yeah, you do not Crane Lion. No.
I like that. I think that's interesting because you don't see that kind of stuff in D&D
Yeah, it's like
or
I
other
don't think you
tabletop
have like
gaming communities.
I don't think you have like a cadre of bards or a cadre of paladins, claiming out turf at a restaurant.
You don't see that at like Magic the Gathering. It's just like swamps. You don't see that. You don't see that. Or like forests. You don't see that, right? So I
No,
think
you
that's
don't.
that,
You
I
really
think that's
don't.
interesting. It's very meta too. Okay, and then we
Oh yeah,
also
that is.
have Monty. I would be remiss if I didn't let Monty introduce himself again. But also, I know you got something you wanted to shout out at the end, but I don't mind if you shout it out now as
Oh,
well.
okay. Yeah. Do I need to do an intro for myself or?
Yeah, totally, because you're awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know about that. So yeah, I am a tabletop writer and editor, copy editor. I have worked on L5R, some other Fantasy Flight properties like the Star Wars game, and the Android Genesis book. Was copy editor for John Wick Presents for their Seventh Sea line. Wow. I've copy edited Zombie World from Magpie Games,
Oh no way.
Afterlife Wandering Souls from Angry Hipster Press, and then bits and bits here and there. So, yeah, okay. So I wanted to promote the. I attended the Clarion West Writers Workshop. It's a speculative fiction, science fiction, fantasy horror workshop last year, and right now they are in the middle of a fundraiser. I am participating in the fundraiser, doing the write-a-thon. I am supposed to be writing right now, like X number of words a week. Instead, I'm on the stream, so I'll blame you all for.
It's okay. I'll take the blame.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But my lack of word count. So yeah, the fundraiser is basic. It's a nonprofit organization. You get 18 students live on site with 6 different authors, instructors. It's very immersive. You write, you read, you critique each other's short stories and stuff. They are attempting to support more people from outside the United States because the science fiction fantasy industry is a little bit too United States based, and this is one of the ways that Clarion West is trying to do so. Scholarships and such to bring people from outside of our country and bring them here to help diversify, but also bring new perspectives and such.
Nice.
You can sponsor me if you go to my Twitter. My pinned tweet has a link to sponsor me. most other writers usually like give some sort of like, benefit. They'll critique. I'm actually quite lazy. I can't really offer anything for.
Well, you're here.
Sponsoring me.
This is it. You're here.
But if you sponsor me, you don't even have to put in that much money. And you can DM me on Twitter. I'm happy to answer questions about, working in the tabletop RPG industry, writing for the speculative fiction community. And although my knowledge is a little bit old, a few years old, working in the video game industry, I'm happy to answer questions. I definitely cannot critique your 500,000 Game of Thrones killer epic fantasy, but I can probably give some general advice, like cut it out.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Be gentle.
Steve just shared that link in the chat right now. That's super exciting. So we have a star-studded cast. I'm super excited. We've got best-selling authors, Steve and Daniel. We have editor, writer extraordinaire, Monty. And then we have L5R connoisseur, Sar. I'm really excited to get into this. Again, let's make sure that we find the good and the bad. We wanted to take a more nuanced approach to L5R because, there is a lot of merit to this game. And there are a lot of Asian creators like Monty who worked on the L5R books, and there is a big community, especially of Asian people, who enjoy L5R, like Sar. I don't know if I can say the same for Oriental Adventures. But that's the last time I'm going to mention OA. Let's actually get into...
Thank you.
Yeah, I know, Steve. Sorry. It's a little fresh. We're on page 16. Let's get into it. The Great Clans. I'll start reading.
All right.
And as usual, stop me when you want to mention something, and we'll start talking. I think by the end of this also, all four of us need to determine which clan we would be a part of.
Oh, I already know.
No spoilers. Oh, wait. Speaking of spoilers, Steve, we had something to reveal. I just remembered.
So I wasn't sure if you want to do it now or like do it at the end, but we can do it right now. And I only need 120 seconds. I said 5, but I'm gonna cut it down. I'm gonna scope
Okay.
this. I'm gonna do what Monty's suggesting. We just like break it down a little bit.
We'll break it down a little bit.
But let me tell you a quick story. So I think it was last month or so. Daniel and I did a charity stream for Black Lives Matter for our local chapter in Toronto, because obviously, Yellow Para supports Black Power, and it means a lot to us to make sure that this message gets out. And we ended up raising in our stream 700 USD, which was just shy of $1,000 Canadian, just shy, which was like a huge, awesome thing. I saw on Twitter a lot of people who also got free giveaways, like the Unbreakable hardcover dice from Daniel. Help me out here.
From Jackie. Oh, the dice? Oh, that's from
dice.
Lemmy. LuckyHandDice.com.
Yes, it was from Lemmy, Lucky Hand Dice. Everything's starting to get out there. It's amazing. But one of the stretch goals, the very last stretch goal, was if we raise 700 USD, we would get art of me in cargo shorts. And I thought, 700, we're not going to get there. And so we did. So I did get this piece of art. So Daniel, if you want to throw that up.
I love how you're saying how getting this piece of art is this terrible thing. I shaved my head.
I know. This art, you don't get to dictate my experience.
It's
this.
True. I'm
like
sorry,
cargo shorts. I got a sore spot, and I'm gonna take the next 100 seconds to talk about it.
Okay, so this is the first. I'm gonna unveil this art for the first time. I've never seen it. You literally sent me the link. I copied it, pasted it, switched tabs, and I did not look. So I haven't seen this, and I'm very excited. So let's experience this together, stream. Oh my god.
So this is me in cargo shorts.
Steve, you look wonderful in cargo shorts.
So this is what I want to say.
Steve.
This picture, I look great. Obviously, I look great. That's because I look great. But imagine how much better I would look if I wasn't wearing cargo shorts.
No, Steve, that's
right.
incredible.
Like if I was wearing like the traditional like Speedo or like kind of like board shorts I'd wear at the beach, it would look so much better.
Can everyone in the chat please throw up your favorite emoji for Steve in cargo shorts? I really want you as a community to show Steve love. Steve, who did this art? Because that's incredible.
So this was Minerva, so Blue Troll on Twitter. who also did the cover for, I don't want to get this
Hearts
wrong.
of Wulin.
Hearts of Wulin, yeah.
Steve, this is wonderful.
So Blue Troller, I'll be tweeting this out after today's stream so people can just understand. This would be so much better if I was wearing cargo shorts. Y'all did this.
You know what we should do, Steve? We should sell prints of this.
So I might have this copy plus a secret copy I didn't share with you. Both, maybe I'll print them, maybe I'll send them out. But you know what? That's for a different charity stream.
If we did a charity auction of a print of Steve in cargo shorts, I think we should do that. I 100% think we should do that. Okay, that's 120 seconds.
Yep.
Okay, Steve, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. Look at the abs and even the bracelet. It's got the same bracelet.
It's got the same bracelet, yeah. I'm not wearing the other one. But
no, the other one too, yeah. The one you always wear during Dungeons and Asians. We got a little baggie with our logo, and then, of course, you got the bubble tea. That's real good. So I have a question before we get into the actual content of the stream. Why the short hair?
Oh, so I was telling people that this long hair, this is all temporary.
Yeah, it's gonna go.
It's all for a donation. I always, like, my natural state is short hair. I like short hair. It's easier to manage, and I think I look great in it. The long hair is completely temporary. So if you like it, tough. I guess. Sorry, it's my body, my choices. Sorry.
My body, my choice. Absolutely. We're not laughing at that. We're laughing at the fact that Steve has long hair and may not have long hair in the future. Steve, I respect the heck out of you for doing this. This looks incredible. So let's get into the reading. Let's do this. The Great Clans. Rokugani society is based on a clan structure with 7 families descended from the kami, ruling over other families descended from those who swore fealty. That's quite the sentence. Over the centuries, each family has gravitated towards a certain role or duty within the clan. Although it's common for families to trade promising students who show talent in an area that differs from that of their ancestors. The great clans of Rokugan are diverse and powerful, dividing huge swaths of the empire between them and commanding many thousands of samurai from families great and small. Okay, so on this page we have 4 clans. Crab Clan, courage, duty, sacrifice. The crab stands out in any gathering of samurai, given a wide berth both for their stature and their gruff, brusque manners. The defenders of the empire have little time or inclination to practice social niceties. They stand guard upon the Kaiu Wall, an enduring symbol of tenacity against the horrors of the Shadowlands. Often, the members of this clan grumble at their duty as taken for granted, that their fine and honorable samurai succumb to the horrifying taint, while the effete and the careless play at games in an empire kept safe by the spilled blood of the crab. Those characters sound dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought this is gonna be really cool. I think
I already really like the Crab Clan. I think what I'm liking about them, like just at like an instant, is that the way they're described is not about like, oh, we're like super honorable. It's just like we have a pretty shit job, but we do it. So it's like duty, which I really like. It's a nice change from honor. So let's go.
I also really like they're not like zealously trying to die out there. Like some of them might be, but that is not the focus of like this.
Yeah, and I like that there's storytelling in this description on how they're actually, showing how the Crab Clan doesn't really appreciate those who are playing political games while the Crab are actually doing this hard work. And I'm sure we're gonna read into it more, and I'm sure like Monty and Sar have like some insight into this. But I'm liking the Crab Clan.
Oh yeah, they're the one thing I will always say about the Crab Clan. This is from my notes. It's pragmatic. They are pragmatic above all else. It's they need to get the job done. They'll go ahead and do it. Doesn't matter how to get it done. It'll just get done. That's the Crab.
I like that. So let's go to the Dragon Clan. Find your own path. For 1,000 years, the Dragon Clan has watched over the others, recording the history of Rokugan. Ooh. Aloof and enigmatic, the armies of the dragon march only rarely, intervening in the clashes of the great clans for seemingly inscrutable reasons. from the strange and powerful tattooed monks of Togashi to the investigators who challenge the system of justice. In the Empire, the dragon seek to ensure the Empire does not become too self-focused and Whoa, what is that word? I've never seen that word before. Solipsistic. It falls to them to ensure that the future of the Empire transpires in an orderly and elegant manner. So I have a question about the Dragon Clan.
Okay.
A big question about them. So they mentioned like the tattooed monks. And on the beginner box, on the back of the little box of the beginner box, there is what I'm assuming is a tattooed monk of the Dragon Clan. Are they the only faction within L5R that have tattoos? Or have the tattooed monk?
They are the only faction that have the tattooed monks. And the Dragon are analogous. They were supposed to. The Dragon's supposed to go to China. So especially with the Izazumi and the monks, they're supposed to be the whole kung fu wushu Shaolin style monks thing that all crammed into one little family, right? So but yeah, there are definitely other monks in all the other clans because there are monasteries in all the other clans, but
Right.
none of them are held to the level that the dragon monks are, because and you guys will eventually, when you guys get to the dragons schools, the Togashi schools, it's their whole thing is that they are like monks in the real world, where they die, they reincarnate, and they are somehow drawn to the Togashi order for one reason or another.
Right.
And then they live and they keep trying to attain enlightenment that way.
Interesting. That's the one thing about L5R that kind of... I bought the beginner box, actually, like years ago. I bought the beginner box. And I've told the story before. I had it in the car, and I picked up my partner, and she was like... She opened the bag and picked it up and was like, is this supposed to be Japanese or Chinese? And that's kind of the impression I always had of L5R before, even playing it, right? It's that, it's that old John Wick AEG stuff. And then there's the new stuff that has this... Chinese, very clearly Chinese coded influence. And I looked and I did some research just before the stream to see if there was a lot of Shaolin influence in Japan. And there really isn't, at least in this time period. The earliest Shaolin influence, at least in terms of a school and their own Japanese school of Shaolin, doesn't come until about the 1940s. When a Japanese gentleman who trained at the Shaolin set up a school in Japan. And it's like a pretty cool story about Doshin So. But that, of course, is fairly modern compared to the Sengoku Jidai, which is supposed to be this period. I mean, other than that, I think it's pretty cool. It's just, is there an in-world reason why there's just a very Chinese-coded clan?
I think, and... Okay, so spoiler alert. Let me know, are spoilers okay? Like story-wise, because this is a big spoiler.
I think spoilers are okay. Steve, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so the champion of the Dragon Clan, Togashi Yokuni, is actually the Kami Togashi.
Oh, that's a big spoiler.
I told you. I asked if that was okay.
Okay, cool. So
the tattoos that they
Yeah.
use to tattoo the monks with is actually his blood. And
Oh,
over
that's
lifetime, over lifetime, that these monks keep coming to the same monastery, they actually get the same tattoo over and over again, over multiple lifetimes, trying to reach enlightenment.
That's pretty cool. Okay, go ahead, Steve.
I was gonna say L5R has this very like intrinsic bond with like blood and blood magic, as we've seen in previous stuff. We haven't gotten to it in this book yet, but Daniel and the rest of you, I don't know if in your cultures, but in like Vietnamese cultures, I don't see blood used a whole lot in folktales. To me, that's like a very like Western kind of idea. So okay, seeing some nodding. So I'm not alone in that.
Well, I will say that there are in parts of the world, and I forget the specific one, but there is a part of the world, I believe in Asia, where they actually create tattoos from the ashes of dead monks. So that's immediately what I thought of.
So yeah, like the idea of like bones and like the actual like
Yeah,
physical.
but blood
body-
is
Blood
not
is-
one I hear of a lot.
No, agreed. Okay, cool. Just
Yeah.
checking myself there.
Okay, so they come from Togashi, but Togashi is within the lore and within their sort of Shinto and origins, very Japanese.
Yeah.
So they just kind of just picked a Chinese thing here.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
They kind of just did. It was just like, I don't know why it was the dragon. I guess it was like, the dragon, like it just kind of, when people think dragon, I guess back then they just keyed China all of a sudden instead of just all of Asia. So I guess that's why the Izezumi got put into the dragon. Although honestly, they could have been put in any other clan, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are tattoos in other ones, but this one is like tattoos are very central to, these particular monks. Okay, I mean, let's just move on. I mean, it's worth noting just for those of you who are watching that, like, hey, Dragon Clan coded as Chinese, not necessarily in like a super offensive way, but in like the one thing that's Chinese here is the Shaolin monks. But I know that's a holdover from a lot of the other L5R stuff because the tattooed monk is in a bunch of other D&D books. I mean, it's they're in Oriental Adventures 3rd edition. They're also in another 3rd edition D&D book called Complete Warrior. So this isn't a 5e thing, and I definitely will acknowledge that.
The thing I want to acknowledge is that if it is going to be like Chinese coded, and we saw something earlier in the kami where one of the children had a Chinese name.
Yeah.
Like it was very clearly Chinese. And then we see the Dragon Clan and Togashi just doesn't sound like a Chinese name.
Yeah, honestly, if they did an in-world thing where one of the kids like was Chinese or maybe foreign in origin, because there was a lot of cultural contact between China and Japan at various times in their history, outside of all the invasions, and if one of those kami was Chinese coded in the Dragon Clan with all this dope lore where they tattooed themselves with their blood, I think I would appreciate that connection more than the Dragon Clan being Chinese coded because dragons, China.
There was one other. There's actually one more other family kind of like actually there's two other families actually that because notice like from the Stange and powerful tattoo monks and investigators who challenge the system of justice in the Empire. So generally the justice system in Rokugan is that somebody who's a higher status will say one thing and somebody accuses somebody of lower status, and because the person's of a higher status, their word is law, right? But the Kitsuki, the dragon family, they actually go into forensic evidence. Again, I'm going to ask: are spoilers okay here? Because this is a huge one in the current. Okay, so the emperor was killed by his oldest son. Everybody in L5R world knows that, right? Everyone think that it was just old age, but the scorpion covered everything up. Enter Kitsuki Chiari, who actually did some forensic looking around and actually discovered that hey, the emperor was actually murdered, he didn't just die. So the Kitsuki will actually look at evidence instead of just testimony. And also the Agasha. The Agasha are the Shugenja family of the dragon, and they are like very much into like they're generally alchemists. A lot of their magic is very much keys into the alchemic traditions in China, as well as Chinese traditional medicine as well. So there is so there are more than just the Izezumi. Although again, the names does not sound Chinese at all.
It doesn't. It sounds more Japanese, and honestly, it sounds like Irizumi, which is the tattooing tradition.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. At least they didn't just lead into just tattooed monks. They've got like traditional Chinese medicine. They've got Chinese alchemical philosophy, and other things like that. Okay, that's cool. Dragon Clan, maybe not my clan. I'm still liking the Crab Clan better.
Yeah.
The Crane Clan. There is a proper technique for all things. The Crane are the left hand of the emperor, in service as political aides to the throne. It's traditional for the Hantai to choose a samurai from the Doji family as their spouse. More emerald champions have been Kakita than any other family, and the samurai of the Daijoji family serve as some of the finest shock troops in the Emerald Empire. Yet the Crane make the greatest contributions in culture. Many of the finest poets and craftspeople hail from their academies, and their duelists have few rivals. The Crane are the masters of court, with the wealth and status to prove it. It's pretty cool.
It's cool. My only criticism is that one sentence with all the family names in it. That's really hard. It's too much.
It's too much.
But you could have absolutely rewritten it to be a little more action oriented, like the slash of a sword from the blank family. That's my criticism. That's super nitpicky, and it's not a cultural criticism either.
That's just been our general criticism of the book. It leans very heavily on the lore and makes assumptions that you know things, or it's almost like this book is out of order in many ways. But yeah, no, I have no criticisms of that. They're just leaning into that sort of the look of the Crane and ideas of the Crane. It makes sense.
Sure.
The Lion Clan. For my ancestors. To be a samurai is to live and breathe Bushido. But to be a lion is to exemplify it to all others. The lion's roar heralds the call to battle and honor. For centuries, the lion have dominated the military tactics and strategy of the empire, pioneering new techniques and battle methods that other clans take years to adopt. Now this clan samurai seek to apply the wisdom of their ancestors to the trials of the modern era. Cool. I don't know about like lions in Japan. But you know what? There are lions in a lot of other mythologies and like Chinese mythology and all that.
Yeah.
So like I see nothing wrong with that. There's got to be one clan, and I think this is the clan, that really leans into like the honor and my ancestors. It seems like this one is so far. And look, that's a common trope that we see in pop culture, and many of the inspirations from L5R and the dated inspirations come from that. Okay.
Do you need a break?
I mean, if you want to read.
I'm happy to read. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. And I actually kind of like the section. So I'm going to move on to the Phoenix Clan. Master the elements and be reborn. Other clans guard the Empire's borders, even the Empire's future, but the Phoenix guard the Empire's soul. It is the duty of the Phoenix to keep safe the myriad religious paths of the Empire, defining them and arbitrating their differences. Scholars of the Tao and servants of their spirits are found among the Phoenix's ranks more than any other clan. The wisdom of the Phoenix have gleaned from both traditions has led them to foster peace and understanding among the other clans, even if it means sacrificing themselves in the process.
Interesting.
So one thing about the Phoenix Clan is it's the one that's supposed to culturally key to Korea. The thing is, and here's the big but, and we have mentioned it to FFG. Here's the big but. It's only an aesthetic key to Korea.
I see.
Dress-wise, hats, and all that other stuff. That it's like culturally, that dress, architecture, all that keys to Korea. Everything else, I don't know where it came from.
I'm just looking at the art right now, and I'm like, yeah, that looks. Yeah, I can totally see that. We actually had a really good discussion at one point on our Discord about Korean clothing, like historical Korean clothing. I learned a lot.
Yeah. Now, if you great one for that is the Sage of is the card is called the Sage of Gisei Toshi.
Sage of.
Or check out the Netflix series Kingdom.
That too.
Great show.
Good stuff. I love that. I cannot wait for where that's going.
I gotta catch up.
I found a YouTube video, and it's very like kitschy and what have you, but they had two actors from this series, and all they do is talk about Korean hats for 20 minutes. And I'm like, I'm into that. Tell me about your hats.
I like that. Should we do an episode like that where we have an expert on to talk about something very, very specific, like Chinese coins or something like that?
I think those are like well within like the Asians Represent like podcast realm, because Daniel, I know you and like a lot of your guests love to deep dive into stuff, and I love listening to it. I just don't have a lot to contribute.
I know somebody whose specialty is Bronze Age belt buckles.
Wow.
That's just her thing. It's belt buckles. Emma's is starch. Mine was very specific pots.
I'm gonna move on unless Daniel, you found what you wanted to say.
No, it seems fine. I mean, that was definitely had some influence on, Japan. And so, I mean, it makes sense that they would put that in there. Whether or not that time period is makes sense. I know that Taoism inspired the Shugendo from a lot of the research we did after Oriental Adventures. So no, this makes sense to me. It's interesting that they coded them as Korean, though, in terms of how they looked.
It is, and here's another thing that's like super interesting about them. The Phoenix, if they ever unleash their power, they could immolate all of Rokugan. They have that much magical power. They're DPS. They're pure DPS. That's what they are.
So they're like the Mage Clan.
They are. They really are.
The elemental masters, right?
Yeah, the element. So whereas all other clans have a champion and the champion's it, the Phoenix has a champion and an elemental council of 5 Shugenjas who actually run the clan and just tell the champion what to do. Mm-hmm. But the Phoenix is also like a clan of massive. They are pacifists. They will not go to war if they can help it.
Right. Huh, that's cool.
I think they're the super religious clan, right?
They are. They are. They're also like Shugenjas, priests. So if let's say if all 4 of us was a party and let's say Monty was a Shugenja, I'm a monk, and if Steve was a courtier, was a Bushi, and Dan was a courtier.
I'd be the courtier.
Yeah, you'd be the courtier. So if we were attacked, all of our job is to keep Monty the Shugenja alive. Because not only is he a priest, he's also a military asset.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
This might be a spoiler, but isn't there a hint that they accidentally caused the tsunami that's in the lore?
Again, spoiler to your spoiler.
Yeah,
it wasn't us.
It happened.
Phoenix. It wasn't the Phoenix. It was not the Phoenix.
That's cool.
All right. I'm going to continue reading on here. And then I have other things to say about all these little tidbits here and a comment about why we don't see these just yet. We're almost 20 pages in. Anyways, Scorpion Clan. I will be your villain, Hente. From behind their masks and veils, the Scorpions smile grimly at the performance of their duty, for it is their sacrifice to be hated even as they execute it perfectly. What other clan could perform the role of a loyal villain? It was the Scorpion Kami's contention that enemies need not be external to the Empire, and thus the Scorpion fight fire with fire. They keep all clans united in hatred against them, yet divided so that no one clan can challenge the line to whom they owe undying loyalty. Hante.
So, the Scorpion Clan is the one that we talked about that when we did our 3rd edition Oriental Adventures art read through, and the art for the Scorpion Clan is just terrible.
Yeah, we know that of all the great clans, Scorpion is the history with the biggest problems, the most problematic arts, the most problematic depiction of women, the most problematic depiction of Asians. Period. Mm-hmm. They are just it's like everything that's bad, every negative stereotype about Asians, we're going to cram it into the Scorpion. But I mean, honestly, it's what it feels like. But here's the thing: you guys mentioned in the first episode that Rokugan actually means 6 stones. Here's the thing: the Scorpion Clan, when the game was initially released, there was no Scorpion Clan.
Oh,
so there was only the other 6 clans. The Scorpion was not a clan, and when the game first released, it was released as the first major expansion as the Scorpion Clan coup.
Okay. Yeah, the Scorpion Clan, as I read in 3.5, if I had to pinpoint one reason why I would never join an L5R game, it is because of that clan, its depiction, and the pretty founded fear that someone's going to play something and I have to just take that microaggression. Right. I have read ahead. It's better here. I like it, and especially the art I think tells of the effort put to try to bridge some of these gaps here.
I think it's worth bringing up some of the Scorpion Clan art. I'm just going to bring this up on my 3.5 OA book.
Oh, the 3.5.
Oh.
So this is the Scorpion Clan in 3.5. We brought this up before, but since we're on it right now, I've noticed that they haven't changed their clan seal, which is fine. It's a scorpion. It's cool.
Sure.
Wait, it almost looks like. I mean, the description is very similar. Behind their ever-present masks, the members of the Scorpion Clan fill a distasteful but necessary role within the Empire. They are the keepers of secrets, walkers in shadows, assassins, and spies. They care little for honor and hold up loyalty as the preeminent virtue of the clan. Loyalty to the clan, loyalty to the Empire, loyalty that makes a Scorpion willing to suffer death or dishonor to pay any cost. Scorpions are usually seen as villains, often even as traitors. But from the Scorpion point of view, their worst deeds have all stemmed from their unswerving sense of loyalty. So there's a bit of a perspective thing with L5R, sort of the 3rd edition D&D Rokugan and the current 5th edition L5R Rokugan. One thing I've noticed is that their exports, they have 2 exports. Can you guess what they are, Steve?
I'm gonna guess opium. Is it opium?
It's opium and silver.
No, you're fucking shitting me. No,
it's opium and silver, and their alignment is lawful evil. This is why alignment doesn't work, because they've said the 3.2 million people who form the Scorpion Clan, their clan champion Bayushi Yujiro, in 3rd edition. Their imports are iron and tea, and their exports are opium and silver, and they're all lawful evil.
Okay, so without spoiling too much, if we go to the 5e book and we skip to page 79 in the PDF or 78 within the physical book itself,
Let's do it.
We'll go to the Scorpion schools and you'll see the art. And I do want to like compare and contrast here.
Ooh, that art's cool on page 77. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. No, a lot of that is real cool.
Okay, so the Bayushi manipulator. Okay, so this is interesting because the Bayushi is called the Bayushi Deceiver in the 3rd edition Oriental Adventures book. And that's the art that we pointed out, that dragon lady.
This is exactly why I wanted to bring this up, because I have to assume it was consciously decided that we're going to take this one piece that caused a lot of harm to a lot of people, and we'll make it a man, because that's going to help kind of like deconstruct a little bit of that sexism and that inherent like peril there. And also it addresses the fact that I really want to be like a sexy courtier in these games. And there we go. I like it a lot. Also, no weapons. Right?
My only issue is that mask looks like they're going to some sort of Renaissance ball or something. That's the only thing I don't like.
I've commented on the mask. The mask
we've talked about them. You've said how it doesn't stick to the face. It's better than this one over here, the lady with the long decorative claw, the fan.
You know,
sleeves
I
that
find
don't
it
really
funny.
work.
I actually find it funny that they gave they named Bayushi Ojiro as the clan champion, and the whole clan is lawful evil, because Bayushi Ojiro in the lore is known as the only honest Scorpion. And if you actually read the little novella called The Whispers of Shadows, which was the new L5R fiction novella, Yojiro is the main character for that, and he is nowhere near lawful evil. I mean, I would actually venture to say he's lawful good or neutral good.
Well, okay, so this begs the question: what does L5R in its system have anything to do with alignment?
Not really. It's more about personal desire and your duty, right? The Ningyo versus the Giri. That's all. That's the interaction. The pull is not whether good or evil. The pull is between duty and desire.
Oh, right, like we read about earlier.
With
cool.
With Bushido though
with Bushido
as the thing that's so, it's the big, sky daddy wagging a finger at you every time you're doing something bad.
So it's like the dramatic pulls we talked about before. Okay. So yeah, that's the Scorpion Clan. So we know to watch out for Scorpion Clan stuff. Let's go to Unicorn Clan.
Yeah, so Unicorn also kind of like gave me pause when I was reading through it, but let's go through that as I just quickly scroll back up. Whoop.
Page 18 of the PDF.
I don't know why I didn't just type it in. I began scrolling.
Hey, it's okay.
A Unicorn Clan. One cannot capture the wind. The Clan of the Wind spent hundreds of years outside the Empire, returning in a glorious cavalry charge that shook the other clans to their core. the barbaric ways they adopted in their exile continue to shock and disgust the other clans. Yet the Unicorn remain fierce in their duty and unwavering in their honor. Of all the clans, they are best suited to uncovering foreign manipulations and infiltration, for they faced innumerable horrors and traitors in their wandering years. So they are coding something there.
So, wait, they say Clan of the Wind, but they're the Unicorn Clan. Why is that?
They are the cavalry. They have the best horses. And if you are arranging marriage and there's a dowry involved, unicorn horses are probably part of that dowry, especially if you get in the upper echelons of Rokugani society. Right.
It's interesting they say unicorn though.
Was it?
They used to. Okay, so lore wise. The unicorn actually, after the initial founding of the empire, the unicorn actually left Rokugan.
So that's what they said. That's what they said here. They were exiled?
They didn't. They voluntarily left Rokugan because their kami, their founding kami Shinjo, was actually Fu Leng was her favorite brother. She went to Fu Leng many times, trying to soften his heart, trying to get him to join the empire, but he just could not see what his siblings did as anything other than betrayal.
Right.
So Shinjo went time after time trying to soften Fu Leng's heart, and when she had to kill, there's no other choice. It was more of the need of the many versus the need of the one. She had to kill her brother. She felt that she could not stay in this empire that could not accept her brother for the way he was, so she left. She took her people and she left. And the duty was they were going to explore the world that they found themselves in now.
So here they kind of say their barbaric ways they adopted in their exile continue to shock and disgust the other clans. So you said that they voluntarily leave, so I'm assuming it's some sort of self-imposed exile.
It is a self-imposed exile for Shinjo and her clan. So they do key to the Mongols. They're supposed to key to Mongolia, or especially, specifically like the steppe Mongols.
Yep.
Right. The thing that gets me with this one, there are a couple things. I mean, the first one is like they call it the Unicorn Clan.
Yes.
And the unicorn is like a European creature.
Yes. Okay. So I was actually getting. I'm sorry. I was about to get there. Then I got distracted. Their original name in when they were founded was the Kirin.
Okay, which is the Japanese equivalent of the Chinese Qilin, which is the Asian unicorn.
It was just the Asian unicorn. When they left, when they came back, they came back as the Unicorn Clan.
Because they encountered the Europeans. Okay, interesting. But they still wield the weapons of Rokugan.
They actually don't. They fight with basically scimitars. There are some.
Okay.
Yeah, Daniel, go into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I mean, it's.
Okay.
It's called Curved Blade. Let me try to find the art for Curved Blade, and I'll show you the weapon. They also fight with spears because they're cavalry. They fight on horseback.
Yeah. Look at at its core of like leaving your country to like experience the cultures and bringing that culture back, and even identifying with it, is totally reasonable. However, we've written like a fiction here and what have you, and as someone kind of outside looking in, I see that, and my first reaction is like, is it like a whitewashed kind of clan?
No, but the thing is, like, they use this if they do use a scimitar, and we'll see in the art. And
I don't know if I don't know if I call it a scimitar. And why can't I copy and paste this thing?
Yeah, throw it into our Zoom chat if you got something.
Yeah.
But like when you say like scimitar or you say like curved swords, there are so many. As somebody who really, I'll take a look at this. As somebody who really likes swords, let's do this. Oh yeah, that is supposed to look like something analogous to a scimitar. But there are lots of names for curved swords from like South Asia, Southwest Asia. I mean, there's the Shamshir, which is like Iranian and from
Kris.
Pakistan. The Kris is different. The Kris is Southeast Asian. And it's got a different kind of shape and everything like that. There's like the Kilij, which is like Turkey and Egypt, and then Egypt has its own other curved swords as well. That they made of bronze. Then there's like the Talwar in like the Indian subcontinent as well. So if anything, if those are the main weapons that they use, they should be coded as, or they should be wearing something that looks less European, and they should.
From what I can tell, they're clearly going for like a Mongol aesthetic.
It is not, and the Mongols did have their own blades
Sure.
and things like that, but that sword is, to me, looks very much like a South or Southwest Asian sword. But anyways,
Well, if we're talking Southwest Asian, are we talking like the burning, like sorry, I'm not calling it burning sands, like the Middle East?
yeah, I mean, like you would say
Yes.
Middle East. There are like Turco-Mongol swords that are slightly curved,
Okay.
but not the way
Because
that they depicted them there.
The thing with the Unicorn Clan is they're supposed to have contact with what's analogous to the Middle East.
Mhm.
They are continuously just because they went back to Rokugan didn't mean they cut off all contacts with all these other powers abroad. They maintain contact and they have active trade routes with all these other powers.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and so it's one thing is like one thing we do is one thing I kind of see this as is they found that this weapon is effective and let's see if we can use it for our benefit.
Sure.
It's more like an assimilation of useful tools, because one thing about the Unicorn is they're considered to be heretical. Their magic is considered to be heretical because they also got it when they were abroad, and the Phoenix, the masters of all of Rokugan's religion, decided that the Unicorn's form of magic was heretical.
So I put it on screen. That's a Talwar. It's just a poor image, but that looks exactly like the sword that you sent me. I mean,
Yeah.
regardless, I think we've already determined that so far the Crab Clan, pretty cool. Dragon Clan's got some like weird stuff going on there. Crane Clan, pretty standard. Lion Clan is honestly what I expected from L5R. Phoenix Clan, honestly pretty dope. Except for, I guess, the Korean look to them. The Scorpion Clan we're going to talk about the Scorpion Clan later, I'm assuming. And Unicorn Clan for me is just like, it's a little weird because they're like, we were exiled for a bit and then we came back and we were supposed to be the Mongols, but we clearly look like other cultures that had very powerful cavalry. Also the fact that we're also the Unicorn, which is very like medieval Europe, and not like, I guess you said they originally the Kirin, which would be the Japanese version.
Yeah, I just generally, I think someone in chat kind of mentioned this too. I could just feel tension around Scorpion Clan and Unicorn Clan, Dragon Clan a little bit, but definitely those two. And I can't put it into words because we're only looking at one paragraph here. But that's enough to, again, push me towards the idea that I generally am not super enthused about playing an L5R game as someone just kind of like reading the book for the first time. There's some other stuff in here that's really cool, but this book was not made in a vacuum. It's from someone who was like seeking out like Asian stories, maybe picked up Oriental Adventures, maybe didn't, but like knew about it. And then I see this and I'm like, okay,
There's a lot of influence here from another game called Bushido that predates Oriental Adventure, that predates L5R. Bushido's got a lot of problems as well. But I think with like L5R, in my opinion of it so far, like the Crab Clan hands down is super dope right now. And I really like the Crab Clan. And I think that's the one that I would identify with. I think they're narratively interesting. Playing a Crab Clan character will be really cool because they kind of seem to buck against that stereotype that we're trying to establish with this book of the honor-bound samurai. And I think the stereotype leans right into the Lion Clan. So I think that's on one end of that honor spectrum. And the Crab Clans are like, this is our job, and we do it because this is what we're supposed to do. But we detest all the people who are kind of in the middle, who play politics, are conniving, and I won't say evil, but they're sketchy, like the Scorpion Clan. And the Unicorn Clan are just kind of there. The Phoenix Clan are dope because they've got all this magic in this spectrum of clans. But you're right, Steve. Like the Unicorn and Scorpion, and to a lesser extent the Dragon Clan, feel really weird.
Yeah. Let's keep reading though, because
Yeah, and again, we don't want. There was somebody posted in the chat, and they said that the unicorn were supposed to be the girl clan. Is that true?
Okay.
I hope not, because that's just bad.
Okay.
I've run into
So
that.
I mean, if we're talking about the Unicorn Clan and you know, things. Unfortunately, there is a school of in
Battle Maidens.
Unicorn Clan called the Battle Maidens. They are a family, basically are a matriarchal family. They're a clan champion. They basically strive to honor their founding kami, who was Shinja, was a female, identified female, and the current champion in the L5R timeline is depicted and does identify as female as well. So, but the Otaku Battle Maiden schools, they have these specialized war ponies that are just coveted throughout the Empire, but you have to be specially trained for it, and there was something about like these war ponies could not bear the weight of a full-grown man, so women are the riders of these war ponies.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know how I feel about that either, but that
I know
is the
exactly.
lore.
I know exactly how I feel about that.
Well, okay.
Which
It's just like we want to have these female warriors, but we'll give them ponies, and we'll give them ponies because the men couldn't ride them because the ponies were too weak.
and we saw in AD&D Oriental Adventures, ponies were used as basically like a weird kind of like feminization of Asian warriors, and it's like, one, you are wrong from like what a horses and ponies are stance, and two, you've caused a lot of harm with that. Three, when we get to it, I have a lot to say about introducing a Battle Maidens clan, just like inserting it without actually understanding how that affects other things. If it's just like meant
Is
to
this
be
in the
where it
character
is,
creation?
you will find it in the schools, which we'll get to after the clans
Okay.
and rules.
And
But let's-
And here's another. They kind of fixed it, although the history is still there. The original name of this family was the Otaku with an O.
oh,
I heard you say it, and I was like, do I want to bring that up? And the answer is no, I don't want to bring that up. Let's move on.
So I don't know if this is true because I don't play the card game. But somebody's saying, well, like the ponies are the best horses now. There is an answer to this. It doesn't matter that the ponies are mechanically or in the game the best. It's what they imply narratively that we're talking about.
Why couldn't they be war horses?
Exactly.
Why do they have to be war ponies? Why aren't they just war horses?
And that's kind of the perspective that we're coming from. It's not from like what's in the meta right now, because I get that. I totally get that. This isn't a commentary on the mechanics of the L5R LCG, or even in a little bit the RPG. This is about what they're telling us with the story. And I gotta say, like, Sarah, and I know Steve's usually the one to say something like this, but like, I really appreciate you coming on because you're a big fan of L5R, and you're sitting with us and we're talking about things we don't like, of something that you really like.
It's perfectly fine because hey, I'm also a big musical theater nerd, and like Lin-Manuel Miranda just said, all criticisms are valid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
all criticisms are valid. Look, I mean, it's let me just show you this because this is my page of notes.
Snap.
Before coming on here, so you see me like pulling something off. That's like I'm usually pulling a note for a clan there, but I know there's problems in L5R. You don't have to tell me that there's problems in L5R. I personally know, and I personally have been harmed by some of them, right? And it's just not depiction of Asians because here's the thing: I'm also a gay man. There has been very incredibly harmful depictions of gay men and women in AG L5R. I never felt I was accepted or allowed to participate during AEG's stewardship of L5R, but now, okay, obviously that first fiction it was the first fiction that FFG released, and it showed a romantic scene between Doji Hotori and Bayushi Kachiko, and it was just like, you know what? I'm thinking to it. This is absolutely a gay story, right? This is absolutely a gay story at this point. However, now I'm thinking in my head, they're keeping it They're keeping it hidden. Not because they kind of necessarily have to, but because the political reverberation of the empire, that the clan champion of the Crane Clan and the spouse of the Scorpion Clan are having an affair, the reverberations are massive throughout the Empire. So
And
it wasn't
pretty
just a
dope.
gay story;
That's pretty
it was
dope.
actually a human story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that actually sounds really cool.
Anytime I see Asians put into like a very complex human light, I get very happy. They don't have to be happy stories. They can be very tragic. They can
Yeah.
be whatever. They can be heroic. They can be villainous. But when I see more of it, then I get very happy.
And I want to
Yeah.
extend that sentiment that I just gave to you, Sar, to Monty, having also written some of the L5R books. I mean, like, this is really important. This is a really important thing to discuss. And the reason why I bring that up is because we're seeing a lot of how that can go wrong in the D&D world, right? When Steve and I did our Oriental Adventures thing, there were folks who are huge fans of Oriental Adventures. And instead of saying, yeah, we like something and it's got a lot of problems and it causes harm, they're like, no, fuck you. And then they'll, call me a racial slur or and a bunch of other things. But you two who are like deeply connected to this material that we're reading, and in a way, well, not in a way, we're actually criticizing right now in this moment, instead of being defensive like these folks are with Oriental Adventures, you're saying, yeah, this is bad. This has caused me harm, and you still like this property, and that's totally okay. You can like what you like. But if you acknowledge the problematic aspects of certain fandoms, it makes, we're seeing a huge difference here. And the folks who are in the chat with us who watched every single stream of Oriental Adventures and kind of saw the fallout of that on Twitter can kind of see this is how a fandom can address the problematic aspects of, what they like, and try to make a call for action or try to address this within the community. Because, sorry, I know that you're big in the L5R community.
There is one more piece of art that I'm going to just bring up, and I'm pretty sure that people would rather I do not bring this up, but I feel that it has to be addressed because
What a preamble to that! I'm excited now. What do you
like,
got?
What do you got?
What do you got?
So, this is a Crane Clan character by the name of Kakita Kaizen.
Okay.
He was okay. So the model for the art was Eric Dahlman. Fantasy Flight does these vanity cards for their designers if they have been, or employees if they have been there for a long time. So there's the card.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's bring that up.
Oh, yeah. People in the chat already know what we're talking about. Apparently,
that's a great sign that people already know. Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh.
I'm not going to say anything. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on this.
It's I have a very hard time calling it. I really don't know. I vacillate between it's okay, it's yellow face, and it's whitewashing. I vacillate between all three of those all the time.
If ever there was a time for that, for the Steve and Daniel emotes, this is it.
Yeah.
That's just straight yellow face.
If I was going through a deck and I saw this image, you would probably see me like stop on that card, think really, like, do the emote, like think really hard about it, and there's like a 50-50 chance I would walk away from the table. Right? Like, without really saying anything, like just very politely excusing myself.
If that was on the cover of the book, I would walk out of the game store. It's wow.
It's here's the crazy thing. He's probably one of the most prolific cards in the meta right now, because his ability is powerful.
So that's
okay.
It's kind of hard for me to, as a community, as a judge in the community, I have mechanically, I am at a split here, because mechanically I have no problem with his ability. It's a fair and balanced card, mechanically speaking. The art is absolutely problematic. I did do a discussion with my co-host Trevor Cuba yesterday when I was recording our podcast, and my way. Here's the thing: it's not to say that yes, we are in Rokugan, and Rokugan is supposed to be mystical, fantastical Japan, right? But I've also established that there are in Rokugan, foreigners exist in Rokugan.
Totally.
I would absolutely love it. I would be completely okay if they actually made a backstory where this is a Westerner who traveled to Rokugan and adopted the way of the crane.
Sure.
I would love that, and that's a backstory that I would love, and I think that would fix so much problems with this card.
I mean, I just want the Korean samurai that Emma talked about.
Totally. But no, if he was an outsider who was from the West and he came in and like not even the white savior trope, just like show people how you can write like a foreigner in an Asian setting that's not a white savior. Yeah. Do that.
Exactly.
Totally, but that's not what this is.
That's not what this is. That's not what this is.
He actually does it. He has very scant backstory. He is written in fiction, but he has very scant backstory. I'm saying if FFG will actually write a fiction that addresses Kakita Kaizen in a meaningful way, I think we don't have to ban him.
I think there are really important things to point out with this art as well. And it's like it's and I'm not an artist, but it's the composition, it's the pose, the way this character looks. Yeah. They look like a hero. They're literally depicted as a literal white savior.
Oh, we have a nickname for him, Kakita Kaboom.
Oh, great.
Oh God. Let's move on.
I'm gonna finish off clans here. So we're gonna do Imperial Families, and we'll do the minor clans. So Imperial Families on page 17 in the book itself. The Imperial Families, enacting the will of heaven. Over 39 generations of the Hantei, innumerable siblings have been the spare heirs, extra children who were never called upon to ascend the throne. Even within a few such generations, the number of princes and princesses born to the Imperial family would require an entire city of palaces, and moreover, none but the emperor and his immediate kin could use the Hantei family name. Rather than challenge the claim of the emperor's eldest child at adulthood, these other heirs would join the families of Hantei no Kami's original followers, Miya, Otomo, and Seppun. They would serve as the heralds and bureaucrats of the empire and the bodyguards and spiritual wards of the emperor. Together, they are sworn to protect the political power of the emperor and ensure no one clan grows too influential. Some wonder, however, if they do their jobs of sowing strife among the clans altogether too well.
It's fine. I think it's interesting.
I actually think it's kind of boring. I think they could have got to the point earlier, but we're getting...
Oh, yeah, 100%. They could have gotten to that at the very beginning. But I mean, like, compared to Unicorn, Scorpion, and Dragon, it's like, hey, the Emperor stays in power by making sure that everybody else is fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could do some cool things there, but... Anyways.
The minor clans. I think this page was really cool. This was what I would have wanted to see for all the clans. Just like very quick, like, this is what you're looking for. The great clans are the most visible and
sorry. One thing I forgot to mention. So SAR's co-host gave me a big tip when we're reading this book.
Okay.
And one of the things that we haven't been doing is actually reading the sidebar text.
Yes. So yes, in the next couple, especially with the schools.
Yeah, moving forward, I want to make sure that we read the sidebar. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this.
So I'll do the preamble, then I'll move into the sidebar, then actually do the readings of the actual minor clans. So the great clans are the most visible and esteemed powers in the Emerald Empire, but they are not alone. There are also minor clans, smaller samurai families who cannot equal the great clans in power or prestige, but who nevertheless have a place in the empire's social order. Minor clans are sometimes created through a schism from a larger clan, an accident of inheritance, or geography that creates a new separate entity in need of imperial recognition. And they also be created by the imperial court, sometimes as a reward for an individual samurai's great honor or service, or to create a family to assume responsibility for a particular location, task, or secret. I love that paragraph. I think that's great.
It's cool.
Mighty as they are, the great clans are seldom foolish enough to dismiss the minor clans out of hand. Although they are smaller and seldom have more than one family or one formal school from which they draw their samurai, the minor clans have often have unparalleled expertise in their particular area of study. I think that's a really cool preamble there.
Yeah, this is neat. I really want the cat clan to be cool.
Oh, okay. It's kind of cool, but we'll see. Using minor clans in the sidebar. Several notable minor clans are listed here. However, there are dozens more, such as the Moth and Bat clans. GMs could even create their own for their own campaigns. I wish it said GMs and players, but I got you.
Yeah. That's standard Major League RPG writing.
Yep. Let's go through these example minor clans. So we have the Badger clan. Created in the distant past to guard Rokugan's northern border, the Badger Clan dwells in a series of rough valleys and caves in the Great Wall of the North Mountain. As tough and stubborn as their mountain home, the Ichiro family has never once failed in its duty. I wanted to read just the first one because the rest kind of like fall out like that, and just like it's a very like quick 3-sentence.
This is where they are. This is what they do. This is what they're like.
Yeah. So Daniel, I know you're excited about Cat Clan, and there's a couple other heroes who I think are really really cool, and I would be interested in playing it. And like it pushes the needle towards Steve. Maybe you want to play L5R. But Dan, do you want to read Cat Clan real quick?
Sure. The Nakoma family of the Cat Clan, of course they made it that name, lives on a protected island. Oh, is this just Cat Island?
It's Cat Island. It's Cat Island.
Oh, come on.
It's Cat Island. But, oh no,
that's
they of all the minor clans though, these are the dopes. Here's the thing. This is what the Scorpion Clan should have been.
Okay, so while the family appears to be a playful association of acrobats, actors, and noted playwrights, in truth, they are a successful clan of mercenary shinobi, selling their skills as spies and assassins to the other clans. You're right, that's what the Scorpion should be.
That's what the Scorpion should have been.
Yep.
Because, I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with it, but it's like, oh, come on, it's Cat Island.
It's a funny thing too, because Cat Island, make Akita Kaori my another host on the Court Games podcast, forgive me if I get this wrong, but an elemental master as a show of force raised an island, and that's Cat Island.
That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's keep going. I can keep reading, Steve, if you want. You read the last page. I can read this one.
Yeah, there's a couple here that I don't think we have to go through all of them.
Are there any that? So the chat is saying that Falcon Clan is really cool.
So read Falcon Clan for me.
Yes.
The keen-sighted Bushi of the Toritaka family specializes in finding and, if necessary, defeating ghosts and other hostile spirits. See, that's dope.
So
I'd play that character.
So we've talked about spirits and all that kind of stuff, but this is the first mention of ghosts, and now I'm in. Right? Like I want to hunt ghosts.
Ghost Hunters L5R.
Yeah.
Oh God! No.
That's really cool. Because it's like,
Steve, if you think that's really cool, you should check out the novella, The Sword and the Spirits, because it's the Phoenix novella.
Phoenix or Falcon?
I would read about Phoenix and Falcon. I would.
Is there a book about the Falcon Clan? Because I would 100% read that.
There is not, but there are. I believe. Give me a second. Let me take a look at something, because I believe the Shadowlands source book actually have Falcon Clan as a character option.
Okay, so some folks in the chat are just like lighting us up with what to read. They're saying Centipede, Mantis, and Fox. Let's read those.
Yeah, let's read those and we can move on.
Centipede, devoted to the sun goddess Amaterasu, the matriarchal Centipede clan preserves ancient traditions and mostly keeps to themselves. The Moshi family produces a large number of Shugenja, whose fire magic keeps the clan safe. Cool.
I was super disappointed by this one.
But like, why is it the Centipede?
That's exactly it, because the Centipede is like such an iconic thing. Like I think of like Five Venoms, like that movie.
Yeah.
Like the Centipede was like super hot, like a main character in that, and it was so cool. And this is just kind of like, oh, cool, we do fire.
But they're centipedes. Maybe it's the burning of the venom.
Sure.
But that's a stretch. But anyways, so okay, that's cool.
Yep, here we go.
Fox Clan. Once the followers of Shinjo who remained behind in the Empire. Okay, so Shinjo was the one who left. That's the Unicorn Clan.
Mm-hmm.
Knowledge. The Kitsune family of the Fox Clan is noted for its scholarship, its knowledge of the medicinal properties of plants, and the subtle magic of its Shugenja. The Kitsune family also has an alliance of sorts with the Kitsune fox spirits of their homeland, and some say that the samurai have intermarried with the spirits many times over the generations. So do Fox Clan members, or I guess elite Fox Clan members, have powers like a Kitsune would?
I'm trying to remember the name of this character. He is the wife of the Crane Clan. I'm sorry, not the wife. He is the actual husband of Doji Hotaru, the Crane Clan champion.
Some say Doji Kuzunobu.
Yes, Kuzunobu. I'm gonna pull up his art. I'm gonna link it to you.
Sweet.
But you'll see something around, on the left side of his, as you're looking at him on the left side, that make you think something's up.
Okay, so there's something I want to bring up actually that I'm just reading through, and it's the Mantis Clan.
Mhm.
Yeah.
While you pull this up, so Mantis Clan, often dismissed as pirates and thieves, the Mantis control lucrative trade routes thanks to their position on the islands of Silk and Spice. As leader of what is arguably the most powerful minor clan, Mantis champion Yoritomo's ambition is to lead his clan to great clan status. Unusually, the Mantis have no family name and instead carry the names of the ship or port on which they serve. So I had a question. We actually looked over the map. Monty, I think it was in the first one? I don't remember. We looked over the map, and I mentioned the islands of Silk and Spice. Either Monty or Sar, if you know, islands of Silk and Spice, is that supposed to be analogous to another part of Asia?
As far as I can tell, looking through the art of old L5. Now, here's the thing. I hate the Mantis Clan. There, I said it. Okay, take it. I hate the Mantis Clan. They should have never been a great clan. I said it too. But here we are. Thank God they're back in as a minor clan in this iteration. But from all the art of the Mantis that I've seen, from AEG as well as FFGs, I almost want to say
some folks are saying Okinawa or Southeast Asia.
Eastern Indonesia, the Philippines.
I was gonna say Okinawa and Philippines, but not. Maybe I shouldn't have officially said that. So
yeah, that's okay.
It is a blend, I have to say. It definitely is a blend.
So that's that. So there is one thing that I don't like about that, knowing that it's potentially Okinawa. The one thing that Emma brought up, and I've brought up a lot about depictions of, ancient Japan, is that games like this work as a form of unintentional, because a lot of this falls on like the Japanese government itself, unintentional cultural erasure. So, the Japanese government has long actively tried to paint this narrative that Japan as a nation is also ethnically and culturally homogeneous. They are all one. When you imagine a Japanese person, that is what every person on Japan looks like. But as we talked about and we've learned about, there are the Ainu, there are those who live on Okinawa, who are culturally different from other people in Japan. And so the one thing I don't like about this, and I immediately hate the Mantis Clan for this if they are based on Okinawa, is that this is just a form of othering for cultural groups in Japan and painting them as, bad or conniving. That's my take on it.
There is absolute problems with the Mantis Clans. I have issues, and I have gameplay issues with the Mantis, and I have personal issues and thematic issues with the Mantis as well. So it's just all over the place. I'm just like, it would be very L5R would be a very happier and safer place without the Mantis.
Yeah, I think it's the one. I think it's the one I like the least of these minor clans that we've talked about.
I get weird energy from Fox Clan, just because it's the only clan that has talked about marrying, and marriage has obvious sexual implications of spirits. And in the 50 or odd pages, there's 100 or odd pages that I've read, there's no other mention of marrying non-humans anywhere. So I read it and I'm like, cool, here's a reason to be horny. And I'm like, every time an RPG book that's not about sex and intimacy and things like that offers a chance for players to get horny, I get very weird about it, because I'm like, you're gonna bring in a lot of maybe baggage to it, and a lot of that baggage is probably going to not be very sensitive towards a lot of people and their lived-in experiences, especially when it comes to Asians and Asian sexuality and how it's portrayed in media. And that's a whole Asian Represent episode. If only we had done one of those.
I know, totally, right, Steve? Oh, what's that?
This is the Winter's Embrace. It's a adventure that's set before the current timeline of L5R. In the book, there are actual. Let me try to find one. There are actually sidebars of characters that you can romance, quote unquote.
Don't like
one
that.
of them. Yeah.
Don't like that.
Anything else to say about the Mantis Clan? The rest of the clans, I don't think we need to go over.
No, the cool one is the Falcon Clan. I'm just gonna say it.
No, Falcon Clan. Let's go hunt some ghosts. Unsolved mysteries. Falcon Clan.
That's just a whole. Honestly, that's a whole game.
Here's the thing. You can't play Mantis. You can't. I'm sorry. Not Mantis. Sorry. Falcon. You can't play Falcon.
What?
What?
You can't play Falcon.
I'm not playing L5R.
You can play the Falcon Clan. There is supplement for the Falcon Clan in the Shadowlands sourcebook.
Oh, I guess because they're going outside of the Great Wall and.
Sure.
God. Okay.
But Dan, you're absolutely right, because the idea of like ghosts and spirits and hauntings
so
in
cool.
Asian culture, everyone knows the way Asians look at like hauntings and horror like that is very, very complex and entertaining and deep.
I want to do a grim fantasy ghost hunting adventure.
Let's just play Ghost in the Discord.
Let's do it.
Do it. Let's do an Asians like Ghost in the Discord, and we'll just do like you want to do the Ring, you want to do the Grudge. Here we go.
Okay.
You want to do Fatal Frame? Here it is.
Let's make this happen, Steve, because we got to do more cool things in the Discord. But anyways, I don't really see anything else. I think the minor clan that I dislike the most is the Mantis. The one I like the most is the Falcon. Of the Great Clans, I definitely dislike the Scorpion the most. They're just objectively poorly written. And I think the Crab Clan, the first one, is the best one. I think it's the most interesting to me. I don't know how you feel, Steve.
I want to like the Scorpion. So I have tension because Scorpion's the one I would want to play, but also understanding all of the potential harm in it. And that's like just where I have to live with it.
Yeah, this opinion is just based on the depiction of them here.
Yeah.
And that we've seen out in other books.
Absolutely. So like if you were like, Steve, you want to play an L5R game? I'd be like, I really want to play Scorpion. And then if I don't know everyone there very intimately, I'd probably be like, I think I'm good. Thank you though. But if it was like people I know, 100% would play Scorpion Clan.
Yes, I think we could do it, but
yeah,
I wouldn't do it with random people. And I'm sure there are other, and I've seen it in the chats, people talking about people who play Scorpion Clan in the card game and whatever that means. But I think that's a different conversation. So that's minor clans, and here's our map. So we're on the map now. And we kind of looked at this before. Mm-hmm. Originally, we were concerned, like, the Great Wall, is that just the Great Wall of China? But no, it's a mountain range. But there is a Great Wall to the south, a wooden wall, I was told.
It's not. It's called the Carpenter's Wall, but it's actually wood. It's actually not wood. It's actually stone.
Okay.
It's just called the Carpenter's Wall.
And that protects from the Shadowlands. And the Carpenter's Wall is what the Crab Clan work off of, right?
They work off of. They sometimes send up. If you actually like the Crab Clans, I can't wait for you to hear about the Haruma family when you get to them, because I'm really excited for you. Yeah, that's in this book.
Cool. I'm you know what, like, it's way less worse and emotionally taxing than reading Oriental Adventures. There are some things to really like here. There are some things to definitely really hate. But yeah, let's we're on chapter 1 now. We made it. Page 20.
I think we're gonna skip a lot of this, to be quite honest, though.
Okay, Steve, you've read ahead. I want to call out, because before the stream I said that I really liked this piece of art, and I still really do like this piece of art. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Like, I'd cosplay that. I like the helmet. It's awesome. I think it's a great it's a great way to portray an Asian character too. You don't see a lot of strong, stoic Asian men depicted in tabletop RPGs, and you have one here. Do
you see this as a man
or a woman?
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually really like that. It's just kind of gender ambiguous, and I
No, you're totally right.
like that because as we go through
Oh,
the art
so
and things
apparently
like that,
it's a woman. This is a character. I'm assuming then.
okay.
She does represent female. Her name is Akoto Masako, and she has a twin brother.
So
this is where the pre-gens in the beginner box, like you said earlier.
Yes.
That's cool. I like that even better.
I know.
I like it even more because let's talk about other depictions of women in Rokugan.
Daniel, you're killing me. Daniel, you're killing me.
This is worth bringing up.
We're back there.
Because again, this is Steve popped the bottle.
God, no.
Because this is progress. This is progress. I like it even better now.
Yeah.
Because we're in Rokugan in 3rd edition D&D, and whatever that helmet is, plus whatever the rest of this outfit is, it's to get gamers horny, as Steve would say. But then we go here. That's so good. And when we talked about the 3rd edition Oriental Adventures book, we mentioned the samurai in the 5th edition Player's Handbook for D&D. And how we were like, okay, that's cool. It's in the background section for soldier. That was cool, but why isn't her helmet on? This is dope. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry, that was my. I really like that piece of art.
Absolutely. I'm excited for you to get to the schools and stuff because there's a lot of art that I think we're gonna just like kind of like fan over because the art is wonderful.
Art's amazing. Steve, do you think we need to go over dice? I think Monty made a really good point about strife.
Yeah, so I'd like to talk about strife and opportunity in particular. I think these are like really cool things to get through. But actually, I think Monty, could you give our audience, for those who don't play L5R, could you give them like a quick, I don't know, elevator pitch of like how dice rolling works in this game?
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. This is funny because the funny thing is that I haven't actually engaged in this text for a couple years.
Okay.
What's even funnier is that I have actually never seen the art. The information I've gotten is basically a freelancer's copy, which doesn't have any art, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of really weird to see the game now, actually seeing the book. Let me see. I'm trying to remember how the rules work specifically.
I'll give you some time for that because the chat actually asked that we read a section that we skipped.
Okay.
And they asked us to read goals of the game. The Legend of the Five Rings role-playing game is a game of samurai drama. Set in the fictional land of Rokugan, it draws inspiration from real-world literature and history. The primary characters of the game are samurai, who are torn between their personal desires and their sworn duties. They must often contend with cunning court intrigues, deadly armed conflicts, and dangerous supernatural creatures. Now, that paragraph should have gone at the very beginning of the game.
That was my feel too. I absolutely feel that way.
Because that's a way better elevator pitch for what L5R is.
Put that on the back cover. That's really cool.
Yeah. Anyways, let's go back to opportunity and strife. I don't need to talk about custom dice anymore. Then everybody's just gonna think I'm a hater.
So I'm gonna actually just read out strife. Because I have tension about it.
Do you want to do opportunity first since you mentioned both, or since opportunity comes first?
Opportunity, I just think is actually a really cool mechanic. So the opportunity symbol, which is a special symbol because it's custom dice, does not contribute directly to success, but it lets the character resolve an opportunity in bold, a chance to do or notice something useful that is unrelated to their goal at the outset, or expand on their success with an additional effect or story detail. So what I wish this did would actually give you some examples or help you understand and contextualize what this means. But Daniel, in your Dungeons and Asians, you love giving us like this little like tidbits. You really like to let us like fail forward.
Of course.
And opportunity is a great mechanic to allow you to both fail forward and also succeed forward in ways you might not expect. And it also gives a lot of agency towards players. So the example they give in the book is, it's like a rooftop chase scene, like typical anime style, like you're running across the rooftops and the player's trying to tackle down someone, and they use their opportunity to incite anxiety and fear in their like NPC opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So if they do succeed, now they have like a leverage on like any interrogation they do. And if they fail, well, now they go back and they tell a story about how scared they were.
I like that.
Which is neither success nor failure. Like, that is completely neutral on the idea of success and failure. It is just an element you've added to the story. You've given the player the narrative freedom to do that. And in my opinion, whenever you play an RPG, the more well-framed narrative control you can give to your player, the better, 100% of the time.
I love that. I love that a lot. I think that's really cool.
So the Star Wars dice have a very similar mechanic. It's obviously been kind of like inspired by the Star Wars dice too. So
yeah,
that's neat.
Like Star Wars. Yeah.
So as a kind of like flip side of that, let's read Strife. And I will read the sidebar because I think the sidebar tries to do what I call damage control. Strife. The Strife symbol represents an upwelling of emotion. Strife does not affect success or failure on the check, but instead accumulates over time, potentially lead to an outward display of emotion that can alter the direction of the story for good or for ill. The more of it accumulates, the harder it is to maintain the decorum expected of a samurai, a key struggle in the genre of samurai drama. Sidebar. Is Strife bad? No. Feelings is a natural part of existence. Strife, represented on the dice by the icon of stylized single cherry blossom petal, embodies positive and negative emotions, as well as the uncertainty that accompanies ambivalence. Players should think of it first and foremost as a barometer that helps them gauge their character's emotional state, meant to help inspire their role-playing.
They're like, those read as like two different things.
Yes. And that is, when I read it, I was like, pause. What is happening here? Like, what am I reading?
I think I get what they're going for. They're playing off of those tropes of the samurai movies. But if you watch a lot of this older, like if you look at history or anything like that, like people were very free with their emotions. And we know that Bushido is very much a more modern concept that was kind of applied to the samurai and their, pseudo-religious and cultural code of, conduct. And I think the one thing I don't like about Strife is that it basically says that all of the Asian characters in your story just hold on to their emotions and don't display their emotions until it gets too much or they're overwhelmed with their emotions. It's showing Asian character, and I get what thematically they're trying to do. But from an Asian perspective, this contributes to that stereotype that Asian people are emotionally stunted or uncaring or cold, especially stereotypes of the Japanese.
Yep. I'm gonna double down on that, Daniel, because I think it reinforces the trope of the mono minority, that the people who are like reserved and stoic and don't show their emotions, they're the people who are rewarded. And anyone who shows outbursts of emotions, regardless if it's happy, sad, and anger, what have you, these are people to shame.
I think they're two different, I think, negative consequences of including Strife in this game. One is that it plays on a stereotype of the people of Japan, and two, it plays on stereotypes of the Asian diaspora.
Yes.
And I think, and again, I don't want to defend what they're doing. I think this is where having an Asian person on the design team from the very beginning could have caught something like this. And I personally don't like it when a game tells me I have to act a certain way.
Which, again, if you read the sidebar, it's almost like someone, Mendez, did you write this, Mendez? Someone was out there being like, don't worry, people like Daniel, if you're reading this, I get what you're feeling, and I'm trying to like rub your back and be like, it's actually okay. We understand. There's like a deeper thing here. We're gonna try and make this better.
But the game shouldn't have to do that.
And that is exactly how I felt. That's the root, the spore of my tension. Like, we clearly had this Strife mechanic to start off with. Actually, correct me if I'm challenge me if we didn't have the Strife mechanic to start off with. But at this point in time, I read that and I'm like, we should do better than that.
So you know what the Strife sidebar is? And then we'll go to SAR. You know what the Strife sidebar is? It's basically Jeremy Crawford tweeting and being like, you don't have to use this rule.
Ugh.
Actually, I have a question for Monty because I honestly cannot remember this for the life of me. But in Star Wars or any other FFG games, is there a mechanic similar to Strife?
No, not really.
Okay.
There is in the Star Wars system. There's a what threats, which are like negative, like it's like negative opportunities, but there's no
Mhm.
emotional component.
Okay.
I mean, strain, I guess, but that's usually just considered fatigue, not like an emotional thing. So, yeah. The strife mechanic kind of reminds me, kind of, but not in a basically a Blaze in the Dark stress system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like where if your stress over goes over, you get trauma. Your character like gets like suffers this kind of like mental consequence. Except in Blades of the Dark, stress is a resource. You get to choose as a player how to engage with it. You're the player. You as a player can decide. Well, okay, I think I'll spend a stress, hoping that I don't accidentally go too far because of other reasons. You know. Um,
Yeah, there are other games that I think use emotion really well. One of them is an indie game called The Veil. It's by Fraser Simons. Steve, do you know it?
No, but I'm gonna Google it and put it in chat.
Beautiful cover. It's a Powered by the Apocalypse game. And I'm one to defend Powered by the Apocalypse because I know there are a lot of people who are you're trying to hate on it. I think all game systems have their faults, but some have really good things. The Veil is really cool because instead of having attributes, and there are flaws of the Veil, don't get me wrong, and there were some really big flaws of the Veil because it had an honor system, but the author kind of got rid of it because of the Asian stereotypes associated with cyberpunk. But in the Veil, you actually all of your attributes are your emotions. You are seen as a capable person, capable of doing great things, which is what makes you the protagonist of the story. And you actually get to dictate which emotions you want to roll with, depending on how you think your character is feeling in the narrative. But, for instance, if you have, say, anger or whatnot as your high stat, and you continue to roll with anger because you want to use that high number, the Veil actually gets you to track that, where you can spike out, in a very cyberpunk term, on anger. But this in the narrative represents your character indulging in anger. So say you're at a gunfight and you're constantly rolling with anger, and in the narrative you're running through this dark alleyway and you're like John Wick and you're just shooting everybody up with your high dice rolls. But that anger takes over. And this causes negative consequences on your character, which I think is a way better way of using emotions. What I also like about that game, in addition to how it uses emotions as abilities, is that it actually includes a feelings wheel developed by a psychologist to help players articulate how they're feeling. So I have to find it. There's a very specific feelings wheel that is used in the Veil. It is.
I am very excited because Dan and I are both aligned that games are an education tool. And it doesn't have to be like formal education that you have to learn this wheel, but learning how to give words and descriptors to like your experience and put names to things that happen is massively important.
So I'm putting that on stream right now. This is Caitlin Robb's emotional feelings wheel. I'm going to throw that in our Zoom chat as well. This is, I'm pretty sure I have to go check my Veil book. But if you go to anger on the feelings wheel, it says, well, what kind of anger are you feeling? Are you feeling threatened? So if you're feeling threatened, how are you feeling threatened? Are you insecure? Are you jealous? And the Veil encourages you to take a more nuanced approach to emotion, which I think is really, really cool. And we use this at my old job as a teacher, using TTRPGs to help kids kind of articulate how they're feeling in game. Because this is a really cool tool. And I'll say that, and I won't say that because I'm friends with the designer. I'll say that because I think this is an amazing tool.
Absolutely.
Also, go check out The Veil. It's got dope art. I will say, though, The Veil is a cyberpunk game written by a white person.
Okay.
So I will say that first because I know a lot of people, myself included, think that cyberpunk as a genre really poaches on Asian themes purely for aesthetic purposes.
I can find a thread by Kiana Shaw who wrote a lot about cyberpunk and its appropriation of Asian culture and aesthetic and why it's harmful.
I also think we did a whole, if you look at our backlog on the Asians Represent podcast, we did an episode on cyberpunk with Banana Chan really early on, and we talked about this and how cyberpunk as it exists now is not cyberpunk as it originally existed in the original French comic book where it originated from, that aesthetic, but also say Blade Runner. At the time when these games came out, I know this is a total sidebar, but the persistent advertising everywhere was a legitimate societal fear in North America. But that doesn't factor into modern cyberpunk, and the advertisements, the holograms, and the bright lights are all there for just aesthetic purposes now. So cyberpunk is very different from what it originally was, but people don't really understand that. And then, of course, it's appropriation of Asian themes. Like the fact that in the new Cyberpunk 2077 game, there's a jacket that's just like Street Samurai. I think that's totally stupid. But I'll still play that game because Keanu Reeves is in it, and I love Keanu Reeves.
I love Street Samurai. Anyways.
but I think it sounds dope, and that's where I'm conflicted. But it's this appropriation of Asian themes.
Yes.
In Cyberpunk.
The idea that a Street Samurai kills themselves emotionally for power, and the fact that it's called a samurai is problematic.
It plays on this whole Strife thing too.
Yeah.
So to go back to L5R,
so
Veil
Daniel,
is a great example of how to use emotion, and Strife is a bad example of how to do that.
I'm agreeing with that. Later on, you'll see that as we go through Strife, there's a lot more mechanics to it.
Yeah.
And they really reinforce that Strife is not a bad thing, right? Like it's not something a character necessarily needs to try to keep down.
Totally.
And there's other mechanics that I think really get into the narrative. Like you can unveil your mask. I think I got that right. And you can remove
unmasking.
you can unmask yourself, and you can remove all your strife by being very emotionally vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
It does not get away from the fact that every single character must try to basically
repress themselves.
Try to repress themselves.
Yeah,
I think that we could do better, and we should just rename it. We shouldn't call it strife.
No,
we really should.
Because strife implies conflict.
Absolutely.
I think one thing to also consider is that like while there may be other examples of strife with much more context later on in the book, folks on the stream are already accustomed to the fact that we are reacting as we go. Right? This is also a commentary on how the book is structured. So yeah, just want to throw that out there.
So Daniel, I'm going to guide your reading here on this section here.
Yeah, totally.
So we're gonna skip a whole bunch of like the making the checks and things like that. This is very useful to have, obviously, as like a resource book. But Daniel, I'm gonna get you to skip ahead to page.
Sorry, Steve. There's one other thing that needs to be read, and it's what's the game master's role? The red sidebar text.
Go for it, Daniel.
Because this is important. The Game Master is the group's access point to the world of Rokugan and the final arbiter of many matters of story and rules. However, that doesn't mean that the players have no say over the story. Balance and respect for one another are key. The players should listen to the GM, and the GM should listen to the players too, and incorporate their ideas as appropriate. I don't like the incorporate their ideas as appropriate, but I generally like the idea that they're encouraging collaboration.
I'm going to disagree.
Now, I'm going to finish. I don't like how this very trad idea of the GM, like, I am the arbiter of the rules. I don't like that. But anyways, what were you going to say, Steve? Sorry.
So I think it's important to actually include the idea that the GM will be the arbiter of certain like flows of the game. And the reason is because we are writing an Asian game here. And I think it's very important if you're going to do that for any minority, if you're going to tell any minority story, to actually empower the GM to actually say, hey, there are going to be some players that might show up to your table who are going to want to like do things or talk about things that basically are inappropriate. They are unnecessary or whatever the book used. And I think it's important to build a game and put it in the text to say, you are allowed to say, no, we don't do that at this table.
And I think that's what they're subtly saying here with respect.
Yes, I think they went for that I personally think they didn't go hard enough. I
Yeah,
think
I would say
they
that
should
too.
have empowered the GM more to say, if you play Scorpion Clan as a dragon lady, GTFO.
Yeah, and I honestly I think we're going to be very critical of the GM chapter. Hugely critical of the GM chapter, which is chapter 7, so like 30 years from now when we get to that. Okay, so Steve,
You're gonna make this for 30 years?
maybe.
Maybe. Okay, cool. Well,
Liter-
you know what? I would be very happy if we did it for 30 years,
Look,
Daniel.
Steve,
I'd love to hang out with you for 30
I
years.
just like hanging out with you every Friday, and I like all of our guests. I like hearing. Honestly, like I love Monty. You always say like I didn't speak up enough. I'm like Monty. Like every time you speak, though, it has value, and I appreciate that. And Sarah, I love your very measured approach to this. So I'm trying to be more positive. I'm trying to praise people more because I think the community has grown negative.
I've been spending the last hour and 15 minutes thinking about how I want to express how thankful I am that Sarah, Monty, you're here. We have 2 minutes though before I get to that. So Daniel, I'm gonna guide you and I'm gonna try to get us through this
Let's do it.
Section here.
Where am I going to?
I want you to go to page in the PDF.
Okay.
Page 29.
Okay.
I believe it's page 28 inside the actual physical book.
Using opportunity.
Yeah, I'm only going to take you to opportunity as a descriptor because I feel like you really enjoyed the idea that whenever you have a challenge as a character, you choose how you approach it aligned to one of the 5 rings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did like that.
And what you're seeing here is the opportunity. If the opportunity comes up, then based on the ring that you've used to approach that problem, it's giving you some direction as to what that opportunity might look like. So, for example, if you've used air to approach a problem, your opportunity might make you act precisely, stealthily, or subtly.
Yeah.
Earth, act cautiously, calmly, or thoroughly. Fire, creatively, fearsomely, or noticeably. Water, efficiently, flexibly, gregariously. And void, instinctively, inscrutably, sagely. And that's a lot of really cool wordplay. That was written with a lot of intention, and I very much appreciate it as someone who's consuming this text.
That's cool.
I don't know if you had anything to say about that.
I like that. I like that. These are all of the different rings represent opportunities that could be, used for a more questionable character, but also for a morally good character. I like that, and I like how hey, opportunity as a narrative tool. Air, people's strengths and weaknesses, emotions, small details, and objects. I think that's really cool.
So if we skip a couple pages down and we get to page 31 in the PDF or 30 within the actual physical book itself,
Compromised.
You're going to see it says compromised. And this is the mechanic for when your strife is unbearable. So there's a lot to kind of go through
Oh, this is
here.
the unmasking.
This is the unmasking portion.
Okay,
So
Steve, I had a question. One thing. Do we want to save this for next week because we're running out of time?
you read my mind. I was going to be like, producer Daniel, I need you to make a call here.
I want to make a call, but I do want to ask a question because I know I won't wait for the answer. I see some smooching. Who are those characters?
That is not. They're not any characters. That is a card. That is art from a province called Shameful Display.
What?
Okay.
Oh. Okay, we're gonna definitely talk about that next week.
Let me. I'll link the art.
Yeah. So here's what we're gonna do. Couple things because I want to end a little bit early, mostly because I know we have some things to share. The first thing, Drew, one of our mods, is in the chat right now. Drew, can you use the Ennies command? We are nominated for an Ennie for Best Podcast. We are, as far as I know, as far as the research that we've done, the first all-Asian podcast, an all-Asian production, to ever be nominated for this award. So please, if you get value from this, be it entertainment, education, edutainment, as somebody said in the chat, please give us your vote. Amar said it takes 38 seconds to vote for us. So if you've stuck around for the past hour and 54 minutes, please consider voting for us. That's a big thing too. I wanted to say a big example, shout out to my friend Fraser Simons for writing The Veil. I haven't talked to Fraser in a long time, and I think despite some of the flaws that game has, it's a great example. It's a great example of how emotion can be brought into a tabletop RPG. Now, that being said, Sar and Monty, I want you to shout out what you got going on. Monty, I know you got something that we shared earlier. Can you share it again, because we've doubled the number of viewers since you talked about that at the beginning?
Right. So I attended the Clarion West Speculative Fiction Workshop last year. It was a great experience. This year, I am participating in the fundraiser for the workshop. It's a nonprofit, so basically donations is kind of one of their main ways of funding the workshop. They invite basically 18 writers from across the world to come and live together 6 weeks with 6 authors, 6 instructors, to read, write, and critique short stories, their own short stories. I'm doing the write-a-thon, which I am supposedly supposed to do X number of words a week for the 6 weeks the program would have been going on right now, except for, of course, COVID-19.
Right.
You can sponsor me, and the money goes to the workshop. You can, if you feel like, if you want the workshop to go to specific individuals, like if you wanted to say, I want to sponsor a non-US student, because again, the speculative fiction industry is very United States focused. It's a little too centralized, and we're trying to broaden that. You can always put in the comments of the donation, I wanted this to go to a international student, because we're US centric. I can't offer any sort of special bennies if you sponsor me, but if you DM me on Twitter, I can easily answer any questions about writing in the spec-fic industry, or writing or editing for the tabletop industry, and I can even talk about some writing for the video game industry, although I'm a few years out of date. My pinned tweet on my Twitter account, that's where the link is. So
yeah, and I've retweeted that from my Twitter, and I'll retweet it from the Asians Represent Twitter as well. Monty, of course, like you say that you don't, you can't offer anything, but look, you've come here with us for the past 3 weeks, and you've talked with us for 2 hours reading through this book. So I think you definitely bring a lot of value to the conversation, and you have a lot of insight to share, and you've already shared a lot. Sar, what have you got going on? You've got a podcast.
Yes, me and my co-host, we do the Court Games LCG podcast, and you can find us at Court Games LCG podcast as well. Or and we also have a sister podcast. And between the two podcasts, they are way and above, way more organized than we are. We just put together a list and talk about it. They actually have detailed notes, so they're the more organized, but they do talk more about lore and the RPG side of L5R. It's the Court Games RPG podcast. There's also we're doing 2 playthrough podcasts right now that we're doing. You could find everything on courtgamespod.com. That is all run by our producer Seabass, who also runs the L5R Discord. Other than that, that's pretty much all I got.
Dope. Steve, you got anything? We got a show tomorrow.
We have a show tomorrow, but I'm gonna spend my time actually just uplifting Monty a little bit, because I think you just did not give yourself enough credit here. Because I want to tell you that I see you in the Discord giving people advice who are they're branching out, they're trying to understand how they're going. I specifically saw you giving some advice regarding freelancing and kind of expansion of scope. That is worth shouting out, because when you're someone who's marginalized, it's very easy to be let me just take on all the work I can because I got something to prove. And it's very hard to set boundaries. You don't have the privilege to do that. So Monty, I want to shout you out, because telling people from your own experience where you're hey, it's okay to put borders in and to say, no in certain circumstances, there's power in that. And I see that, and I respect that, and I love you for that.
Thanks.
That's all I got, Daniel. That's all I got.
Steve,
actually, no. Daniel, I have one more thing. This one's for you.
Oh, no, I don't need anything.
No. So this is a book. I've shown this to you before.
You have.
So the second book did come out. The third book's about to come out. So I'm looking at here the Poppy War, which is by Rachel Kwong, and she is, from what I can tell, an Asian American who studied in UK and has just written this falsely. The description of it is very false that I'm going to give, but it's
Okay.
Harry Potter if it's Asian. That's a very bad description. It's
Okay.
a super bad description.
Okay.
But if you're interested in a peasant girl who has very dark skin, who goes to the capital to learn and be and experience colorism like oppression, because she's poor and dark skinned, and then has to like internalize that and has this like model minority mindset and does things like self-harm, but also drug addiction as a teenager. Again, not Harry Potter. It's a cool book, and specifically, I want to shout out that in that book, you're going to see a very graphic and content warning, very graphic look at I can't pronounce it, Ningjiang.
I have to see it. Yeah.
Okay, it's a city that the residents were killed and tortured, and it's very, very graphic in the book.
Right.
And the author wanted it to be graphic because of just how tremendous Nanjing, that was it. Because of just like how horrendous it was. And that is what,
like in okay, yeah.
yeah. Because this is one of the things that actually drives the character towards like opium and just like the relief that opium provides her momentarily, just to get through day to day of like the horrors of her day to day life. Harry Potter might do that shit.
Harry Potter did a lot of shit wrong. J.K. Rowling also did a lot of shit wrong.
Yeah, so no promotion there. But if you want to see some like Asian representation, which in like fiction of what I would call this young adult fiction, despite its very adult themes. Check out Poppy War.
I feel like I have to make a book recommendation now.
Just grab your Unbreakable.
No. I got a book that I'm reading actually for our Dungeons and Asians. It's a Chinese culinary culture. Steve.
I love storytelling through food.
This is just some foreshadowing on what we're going to do on the actual play. But this is actually a really good book that I found at my parents' house, and it's actually made by the Chinese Dietetic Culture and Research Association. Basically, they're a Chinese government-funded organization that's meant to research and document Chinese culinary tradition across the country. So that's what I'm reading right now. Now, before we sign off, we have Monty's socials. Sarah, can you what's the website for your podcast again?
Oh, it's courtgamespod.com.
courtgamespod.com for all of your L5R content. Steve, unbreakablerpg.com. If you're an Asian creator and you want to write something, I don't know what Unbreakable is going to be like in the future, but if you want to read Asian stories and you don't want to give WotC any money, unbreakablerpg.com. Support Asian creators, support Asian stories, show the world that matters. Steve, you got anything else going on?
I'm going to add in that Jackie made a very quick announcement today. I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't.
Unbreakable Volume 2 will not be 5e restricted. We'll be looking at other systems and other ways to tell Asian stories. So even if you currently do not want to write for Wizards of the Coast and like do that kind of content, that is not a restriction here. You can absolutely sign up and tell your story the way you want. And I think that's very powerful.
That's amazing. That's really cool. Did you also see that? I'll mention that later. Anyways, that's really good to hear. I have one other thing coming out. I just dropped a Chinese monster manual on itch. If you head to danielhkwan.itch.io, you can find my page. I've got weird games. So I've got a little micro RPG about Terrace House, the Japanese reality show. I got a game up there called You're Fucking Awesome. But I got an actual real book, not like a joke book, called Denizens of Mountains and Seas, and it is an OSR, monster manual, of 8 creatures from Chinese classical literature that are statted out for OSR games and any other fantasy RPGs that you might want to use. So check that out. I just dropped that. Monty, Sar, you are both totally welcome to join us for another episode. I think the cast really liked having you here. Heck, we'll have you two and Emma on the next one if we want. But it's nice having L5R community members, L5R writers, and a very constructive chat going on. Thank you for joining us, and thank you everyone in the audience for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow when we play Jiangxi Blood in the Banquet Hall. 2 p.m. Eastern on this channel. It's going to be great. Chinese restaurant stories, vampire hunters by night. I can't wait. Bye, everyone.